Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Let me apologize for whatever this voice might come out to be this morning. Today we are marking up 4 relatively bipartisan bills, and it is my hope that they will be even more bipartisan after today's markup. First, we have H.R. 2413, the Weather Forecasting Improvement Act of 2013. Weather forecasting and weather research are issues that should be truly bipartisan. And I'm very pleased that with the addition of the manager's amendment, we now have a bill that we can receive bipartisan support. As amended, this will be a strong bill, and it will improve weather forecasting at NOAA, and I urge my colleagues to support it. One of the things that we learned as we received expert advice on this legislation is that weather research can be strengthened, but that we cannot do it at the expense of ocean or climate research. These are all pieces of the same puzzle. The progress in all of these areas is necessary for progress in any single area. This bill will improve weather research at NOAA and better integrate that research within the forecasting community. And it accomplishes this without harming the other important work that NOAA does. I want to especially commend Environment Subcommittee Chairman, Mr. Stewart, Ranking Member, Ms. Bonamici, and the bill sponsor, Mr. Bridenstine, for their cooperative spirit and hard work that got us to where we are today. I hope that we can use this process as a model for future bipartisan legislative action. Next, we have 2431, the National Integrated Drought Information System Reauthorization Act of 2013. This vital program was originated by my friend and former chairman, Mr. Ralph Hall, in 2006. The program provides critical drought information to communities all across our nation. Over the past 3 decades, it is estimated that droughts have cost our country hundreds of billions of dollars in economic impacts. Loss estimates from the 2012 drought alone run upwards of $70 billion. Moreover, the effects of climate change are anticipated to exacerbate this problem in many parts of our country, including in my home state of Texas. In the light of the scope of the economic impacts of drought and the potential of the NIDIS program to lessen these impacts, I am concerned that we are cutting the program's authorization level. My colleague from Oregon has an amendment to modestly increase the authorization levels, and I plan on supporting that amendment and urge my others to do as well. The next bill being considered is H.R. 2981, the Transfer Act, a bipartisan bill introduced by Mr. Collins and Mr. Kilmer that would help accelerate the commercialization of federally funded research. Our investment in basic research has led to incredible discoveries that improve our lives, but identifying and moving those ideas into the marketplace is not an easy task. In today's economy, private capital is even harder to come by, especially for unproven technologies. This is where the Transfer Act can make an impact. It can move good ideas and technologies further along the path toward commercialization. It can help spur the creation of new startups and spin-offs and help those new businesses succeed by providing resources and maybe even more importantly, advice and services. I'd like to commend my colleagues for their hard work to improve technology transfer. Now, just recently, the small business community has raised some concerns over how the Transfer Act is funded. While I strongly support the thrust of this bill, I do want to emphasize that these concerns will need to be addressed in order for this bill to move forward. I'm a little concerned that we are rushing to mark this bill up without having first identified a viable path forward on this issue. This bill was crafted by a committee, but it also was referred to the Small Business Committee. Kicking this bill over to the Small Business Committee without having identified a funding fix seems like a recipe for inaction. I hope we can continue to work on this issue and ultimately get this bill enacted. but I'm concerned that rushing the bill to markup today will not make this any easier. Finally, we consider H.R. 3625 to provide for termination liability costs for certain national aeronautics and space administration projects. This bill makes necessary changes to the way in which NASA accounts for termination costs in their flagship programs. When Congress funds spacecraft development, we want the funding to go to spacecraft development. We don't want sufficient portions of the funding to be set aside for just-in-case money for potential termination costs. Unfortunately, this requires a legislative fix because the Anti-Deficiency Act requires some reserves, and frankly, NASA is unable to float these reserves anymore due to the tight budgetary times we're in. I look forward to a productive markup today, and I yield back. Thank you.